So I'm just finishing off a big order, tied all the bars up, got all that ready for postage, and I was just about to make their stingers, and I thought this is a key moment to make a video up about how I tie the stingers. This customer's ordered the Super Pink in a 15, and he's gone for the Green Goblin in the 9. This one they've selected for it to be weighted. So what we do there, we have a 3-ounce weight into the top of it. This one's just going to be a normal floated stinger, cigar float. On the website, we've got all the different drop-down buttons, so you can select this as you're ordering them. There's no additional cost to have them weighted, and this customer's actually done it, he's asked, can this one be a 10-foot stinger, and can this one be a 6-foot stinger? Again, it's all there on the drop bars for you to pick what you want. Hook-wise, BMCs, like everything that I do, 15-inch is going to have the 12.0, and then the 9-inch Green Goblin is going to have the 9.0. Grand Slam, bomb-proof, best about, can't get any better. This is £400. It's the same as what I tie the centre lines in on the actual bars themselves. So we'll do this one first. Everything's jigged, everything's measured, so we get the same consistency all the time. So once we've got our line ready to go, pop the foam out the bottom of this one, save that for later, nip the top off, and we're going to get the pokey. Don't stick it in your hand, it hurts. Then we're going to thread the squid up. Then we go through the top. Put it through. So the first thing that goes on is the weight. Because this is going to be running around up and down on the line at different times when it's bouncing around, it will always come down and into contact with the safety crimp up the top. So I like to put a little rubber safety bead, rubber stop bead, call them a multitude of things, and all that does is add a bit of cushion as it bangs into that top crimp. 150. AFW Grand Slam crimps. Again, the best about. You don't want to compromise on any of your terminal tackle, just because you might be able to pick it up a bit cheaper in China. So that's all perfect. We're going to thread on our hook, and then we're going to do our loop down to our mark and get that pulled up ready to go. Line it up. For the thimble, you'll hear me say it again and again, it's probably going to become a catchphrase, metal on metal. There should be no point that you've got line anywhere near there's a pull point. Metal on metal. There's no way that to rub. You're not going to get any break-offs, snap-offs. We're bringing jewels. You would hear me talk about this as well. You should only be using a bench crimp. Do not use hand crimps. They're rubbish. The only thing I use those for is tapping the locking clips on for when I'm holding the centre birds and directional birds on. So you line it up. When you're putting it into jewels, you want to have the same amount poking out both sides of the actual crimp, because you're looking for a flare at both ends as well as a flare on the side. That shows you have the perfect crimp. Just like that. So we've got the flare at both ends, and we've got the flare on the side. So the second one is the safety crimp. So if you were to ever get any slippage, that's there as your backup. Lock that into place, nice and straight. And there is our hook. Trim this top bit off just here. Now, because I've got that buffer bead on there, what that does is when that lead weight should ever bang around, it's never going to knock into your safety crimp there. It's always going to be buffered by that bead. The bit of foam we used earlier, because they're so sharp, you don't want one in your hand. And there we go. There's that one sat ready to go. Just come up to the other end. So this is when you're looking on our bluefin bars, as you come down through the centre line, we use the 600-pound quick change swivels, which is attached to the bottom of all of our centre lines, and this is what we're about to make the loop for to attach. So you can just clip them on and off. On our mark again, 2 crimps, loop protector, the thimble, because we want metal on metal, I'm just going to form the loop. Bring that down to its mark. Get that one prepped. What you want when you're putting your thimble in as well, because you're pulling on one side, what can happen is your thimble can end up sitting over at a funny angle. Just spend a minute to manipulate it into place so that when this one is looped on here, when that thimble is completely straight and upright, you're getting a perfect pull every single time. But there again, it's a pull point, so it's metal on metal. Perfect. Again, flared at both ends, flared top, flared bottom. We've got the two flares down the side as well. So go and find our safety crimp. So when we do these, I like to have the two lines running in parallel. What some people like to do is they twist this part around a couple of times and then they put the crimp on there, which gives it sort of like that effect. I like to have them like that, where the two lines are running, the two pieces of line are running in parallel. That just looks stronger to me. I've spoken to some other people about it who know far more about tuna fishing than I do, and they have the same. They do exactly the same as what I'm doing here. If you're tying and knotting something, you have to loop it to then tie it, and that's putting a weak point in. So I think if that was to slip, or this one was to slip, you're slipping on a weak point. So I just don't do it. So into there, clean up the tag end, and that's number one done. When you're tidying up your stingers at the end of every session, or even when you're chopping and changing as the day goes on, always wind your stingers back up and use your leader wraps. There's nothing worse than digging around in a bag and you've just chucked your stingers in there and all the line just becomes just a big tangled mess. It's not the worst thing to unpick, but you know, if you've had a fish, one person's recovering it, depends how many you're on the deck, but one's recovering it, or you know, it's bird or hook or something like that, or you just want to chop and change colours, there's nothing worse than digging through a bag full of tangled line like that. We give you a Tuna Gear stinger bag, so all you've got to do is pop out when you're taking your stinger out to go onto the bar, just take your leader wraps out and pop them in the bottom of the bag. And then every time you're rotating one, just put your leader wraps back in the bottom every time. Makes life a lot easier. So there's a super pink ready for the customer. Now let's do their green goblin. So this one's going to be a 6. Again, Grand Slam. So this one's going to have a float. Pokey. Just make sure that holds. In we go. So this one's going to have a float, cigar float, up to our mark. Everything again is jigged, so I've got a mark for cutting everything. You can see how many loop protectors I've cut because I've managed to gouge a hole out inside my desk where I lean on the same spot every time. Two crimps, loop protector, on goes the hook. So we've got metal on metal, got our first crimp in, loop protector, thimble. Now we're putting our safety crimp on. And there we go. So there's the green goblin. Again, when you're putting these back in the stinger bags at the end of the day, keep your bit of foam in the stinger bag, because when you're rummaging through them, you don't want to stick a 9/0 or a 12/0 barbed in the palm of your hand. Loop protector, put it down to its mark. Jewels, perfect. Safety crimp. So there's the green goblin ready. If this was the end of your bluefin bar, just to very simply click on, metal on metal. So then we'll loop it all up, super neat, into the bag. And there we go. One weighted stinger in the super pinks and a 15-inch, and then the green goblin in a 9-inch with the floats in it. Because this customer has ordered 2 bars and 2 stingers off of us, what he's also going to get, because I like giving things away, is one of the Tuna Gear drinks bottles. When people do enough orders, we've got tons of stuff to give away to people. We just surprise you and then it goes in the bag. So yeah, done.